I am sitting here with Sarah Wilson, who is the founder of Chip Cookie. Sarah, we're so excited to have you in today.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun. I love being here. It's my favorite.
Well, good, because we love having you. You and I have been giggling for about 10 minutes before we even started the podcast. So let's start with, how did Chip Cookie come to be?
Yes. So Chip was born out of pregnancy cravings. I was pregnant with our first, and my number one craving was chocolate chip cookies. And, you know, being your first when you're pregnant, those pregnancy cravings are like a medical need. Like, I was like, if I don't get a cookie, something might happen to my baby. Like, this is...
You're just keeping it real with us. Love it.
Yeah, and so, you know, we were living in LA at the time, and there just wasn't anything like this. And, you know, usually these cravings were like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and my husband, being a first-time husband to a pregnant woman, was like, yeah, she needs these cookies. And so...
This is a need,
yes,
not
this
a want.
A need. And so he found himself running all around town and looking for options, and he'd come back with store-bought cookies, and I'm like, no, I need like a gooey cookie. Go make me some cookies. And so anyway, we just saw this gap in the market, and we thought, you know, kind of toyed around with the idea. We were both working professionals at the time and really never thought anything about it. My husband went to work on a business plan and showed it to me. I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, stick with your day job. I'm going to, you know, What are we thinking? And, you know, really a couple months later, we had toyed with the idea. We'd talk about it from time to time. We're big foodies too. We love food.
Love
and,
it.
Anyway, someone told us about a rental kitchen in Provo. We were living in LA. We heard about this rental kitchen that was basically a startup incubator for food concepts where you could rent by the hour. And we're like, this, maybe we should try it. Like,
oh, interesting.
You know,
okay.
We knew Provo had a lot of pregnant women. Utah in general, we're like, okay. Because, I mean, again, this is my thinking before this became a thing, is like, okay, only pregnant women will want this. Like, where are all the pregnant women? And then we knew there were students up late. And so we thought, we both went to school in Provo, and we're like, let's just test it out. I mean, really, truly, we just had no idea if it would resonate with people. And so that's kind of where we're like, okay, let's just try it. And we would fly up on the weekends. We were only open Fridays and Saturdays from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. So it was just this, like, we'd come up, bake some cookies, deliver them. And, you know, here we are now, almost 6 years later.
So amazing. Yeah. And that is the story of how history was made, how Chip Cookie was made. Did you have any idea, like any inkling, that it would be this big of a hit?
No. I mean, really, I knew I wanted it. But again, I just was thinking this tunnel vision of a pregnant woman, that this is just like for us, you know. But really, I think within a couple weeks, maybe a month of doing these like weekend store openings, we started to get, I mean, the reaction we had, we would deliver these cookies and people would hug us or scream. I mean, the reaction of warm cookies at your door, and then they would try them and they're like, this is the best cookie I've ever had. And so that reaction was like, wow, maybe there is something here. And I vividly remember one of the weekends we were open, and we started to get this line outside of this rental kitchen. And again, we were thinking we're delivery only, like that's what this business is, if anyone would even buy. All of a sudden we started getting people coming, and we're like, what are you doing here? And they're like, we heard you guys have cookies. We're like, how did you find us? They were following our drivers back to the rental kitchen, and they're like, you don't deliver to us. Like, we live in Salt Lake or we live in Ogden. They were coming from all over. And so it was just, I think that moment of seeing this line form when we didn't even have like a point of sale to take these orders. We're like, hey, go over across the street and order and we'll bring it to you. Like, it was just so, I mean, it really was this idea that was evolving. But I just remember that moment of thinking, okay, maybe this is a real business. And, you know, about 4 months later, we opened our first brick and mortar because we started to realize, okay, maybe people want to come in and get their cookies, and we couldn't deliver to everybody. And so, we just didn't know it really evolved into something, and we had no idea. I mean, it's really fun to see, you know, our customer is more than a pregnant woman. You know, everyone loves chocolate chip cookies.
Never underestimate the power of a chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, for me, I love chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
I've always loved chocolate chip cookies. My family had this tradition. My mom, every single day, every year on the first day of school, she would make my brother and I chocolate chip cookies. up until my brother was in college. She was still doing it.
Oh my gosh,
so chocolate chip
that.
cookies, I feel like it's a universal love language.
It is. I mean, they've been around for 80 years, and there's such an emotional tie to cookies, you know, and I think that's why, you know, we get asked to, like, is this just the trend? And I know Chip kind of started this, like, you know, cookie trend that you see, but I think cookies are just timeless, and they're so embedded in our community. Like you said, you have this emotional tie to a cookie on the first day of school. I think that you know, is embedded in our community. And so
I love that. Food brings people together.
Yeah.
And you work with so many different companies, and you work with jazz players. Talk to me about what it's like to work with the jazz players on their cookies of the month.
You know, it's so fun. I mean, I love working with everybody. We do these partnerships, and it's so fun. And we've done one with you guys, and it's one of my favorite parts of the business. I like it because, of course, getting to know people, but it's also being tied to the community, you know, and the jazz players are especially fun. You know, Rudy, it's so sad seeing that he's been traded, but he actually messaged and said, can I still do my cookie? Like, and it's so cool because Rudy is actually an extremely healthy eater. Like, I mean, very, very clean, healthy eater. But
there's always room for cookies.
And that's what he says. He's like, this is the one treat I eat. Like, he loves his cookie and was really involved in the process, like, loves coconut. So it was fun. I mean, I remember going up to his house, and we don't always do this with everybody, but with him, he was like, I need you to come to my house and do the taste test. So I was working on the recipe, and I'd bring it up to him. And the first time, you know, usually I just drop him off and I'm like, okay, here's the different options. Give me your feedback. And with him, he had like his posse of like 20 guys.
I love it.
Like, it was like something you'd see in a movie, you know, like some of them are in the hot tub, they've got music playing, and they're like, he goes, okay, present to us. I'm like, okay, let's have a little presentation here. Yeah, so it's been fun getting to know them. I mean, the Ingalls are an amazing family. Doing that autism cookie with them for their son Jacob is so special, and something we will continue to do, you know, even as they move on to different teams. It's been really fun to create that recipe and also be involved in the community and give back. We do that with Rudy's cookie as well. We donate to his foundation, and so
that's so beautiful.
It's been so fun. The nice thing about the Jazz is that they are genuine customers of Chip. Like, we don't pay them anything. It is just a genuine love of the brand and of our product, and I just think that's a really special relationship when it's funny too, because other players are like, where's my cookie? It's this competitive thing. Like, the competition doesn't stop on the court. Like, Rudy's always like, how are my sales this time? Like, am I doing better than Joe, George? You know, like, it's always this competition with them. So that's fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about this. We talked about the Jazz. You did a cookie for us.
Yes.
How do you come up with the flavors?
Yeah.
Because they're always delicious. They're always lovely. How do you do it?
Yeah. Tons of testing. I mean, for us at Chip, you know, we focus on quality. We always call it the Chip way, but our goal is to have the best cookie, whether it's, you know, any flavor, we want it to be the best. And so we do a ton of testing. And then we also talk to our partners, like, what is a flavor that you love? And sometimes it's seasonal. The cookie we did with you guys was a mint cookies and cream, and that was in March. And so we like to do something fun, you know, based on the season.
The green was super cute around St. Patrick's Day.
But also delicious. You know, at Chip, we're not trying to create like 20 different flavors every week that are like weird things going on. We want them to be timeless and delicious every time. So just lots of testing and you know, talking to our customers.
Well, if you ever need a taste tester, you are talking with one right now. So you opened 2 new locations. That is the word I just made up. 2 new locations in Utah this summer. One in Holiday, one in Sugar House. What is it like seeing your company just expand so much? It's still growing. What is that like?
It's so fun. And, you know, it's time. We have really taken the approach of slow growth to start, because we wanted to make sure that we've had the processes down and the team before we just grow all over. And so we are finally at that stage, and it feels so good. You know, we've felt this need to grow quickly, and I think everyone feels that need, but we've also wanted to do it that Chip way. And so we feel like we have those systems in place, and we are just ready to run, you know? And so I'm so excited. Those 2 new stores we open are drive-throughs, which is so fun to,
love that.
You know, we're kind of built for a drive-through model. And so this is so fun to do that. And, you know, we're offering drinks now, which is fun for people that need a drink with their cookie. And so there's just so much excitement and really big things coming that we feel like, you know, now that we have everything set, we're just ready to grow so quickly. And so big things coming. We just announced franchising.
Oh, that's so
exciting. Yeah. So we've had people asking for a long time. And again, we have felt this need to make sure before we franchise that things are in place and that we have this brand that's around for a long time. And so we announced that earlier this year, and we've signed a bunch of franchises. And so we'll be opening up, you know, in the next year, but we're also accepting new franchisees. You can apply on our website. We just have a page there where you can apply. And so it's really fun to be growing. We're really excited.
Okay, the franchising thing. I'm so excited for you guys. You're growing. Do you have any other big plans or anything in the future that you can tease?
Yeah, so more cookies, some really fun cookies coming up. There's one next week that has a really risque name, and we've been playing back. We're like, do we name it this? And so we'll see what the reaction is, but fun cookie flavors, just lots of growth coming, and that drive-through model. You know, I think just, especially with COVID, I mean, who didn't love a drive-through before, especially as a mom? I have 4 kids. Like, who wants to take them out, right?
I don't even have kids, and I appreciate a drive-through because I can, well, I mean, I can do it anywhere, but I can roll through a drive-through in my PJs and my slippers. I mean, I could walk 100%. In like that, but I feel more comfortable doing it at a drive-through.
Yes, no judgment when you come through the drive-through. You don't even have to wear shoes. So I think that model of that drive-through, you know, it's the same, you know, warm cookie, but it's just so much easier to get. And I think we're all kind of changing our habits that way, you know, once we went through the pandemic and just being consumers, it's easy to just drive through, get your cookies and go. And so some really fun things with that.
There you go. So Sarah, we have talked a lot about your business. Yeah. Let's talk about you for a little bit. Have you always loved baking, or was it when you really wanted that chocolate chip cookie when you were pregnant, or has baking always been part of your life?
I always love baking. I mean, mostly because I love the output. Like, I love sugar. I love sweets.
You and me.
I eat so I can have dessert. Like, all my teeth are sugar teeth. Like, I love sugar. And so to me, it's the output. And I've really grown to love the baking process. It's so fun, and it's the output, really. For me, that's the most fun. So, I mean, it's funny because I have friends from college that are, and I forget these things, but they're like, Sarah, you used to make us the best chocolate chip cookies. And I'm like, that's right. I used to work on these recipes. I mean,
and you're like, I still do.
Yeah, because they're like, of course you're doing this. And, you know, I've never been trained as a baker, so I've never really thought of myself as a baker. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I should have like an honorary degree or something at this point.
I am giving it to you.
Thank you. But I do. I love baking. It's so fun, the process, and especially now to see our cookies all over and people enjoying them. It's such a rewarding thing for me to work on those recipes and see people love the cookies.
Well, we are all very grateful that you enjoy baking because we all love your cookies. So nice. Is this where you thought your career would end up? Did you have other dreams before Chip came along? Where did you think you were going to be?
Yeah, you know, I did not think I'd have a cookie company, but it's so funny because my number one goal in life was to have a candy company, like a candy store. Just a cute little candy store. Because, again, that sugar, too. I love candy. And so I always dreamed of having a candy store. And so it's funny, I have cookies. I've actually thought at one of our locations of just selling some candy so I can kind of call it a candy store and say I did what I wanted to do. You know, I went and did get my master's in sports management, so I worked with, you know, some in different teams, but really that goal of that candy store was always this, you know, kind of like a bucket list. That would be great. I just know good candy. I know good sweets, which is sad that that's the one thing I can say about myself, but I think own it. Stay tuned for some good candy, maybe at one of our locations.
Well, I love it. You had this love for sweets, and you turned it into a career that not only you love, the community loves it. I know people listening to this podcast are wondering if you have any advice or tips for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I mean, I always feel so, like, I don't know, not equipped to tell people what to do, even though I'm this entrepreneur, but you know, I think that to me, it's just starting, you know, like you have these ideas, you might talk with friends or family about ideas. I think you just have to start. Like I'm a bit of a perfectionist and feel like everything has to be perfect. You know, you have to have the perfect marketing plan or logo or whatever it may be. I mean, we started Chip out of a rental kitchen, renting by the hour with no idea if anyone would show up.
But you did it. You
do
took
it.
that first step.
It's that first step. And I think it's continuing to take the steps. There are times when things get hard and but just kind of going back to like, I believe in this, I want to do this and that goal, and you just keep going and you'll find customers, you know, and you'll be surprised what it could turn into. It might be different than what you thought at first. I mean, we thought we'd just be this delivery open from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m., you know, and it might evolve and you listen to your customer and grow, but it's just taking those first steps and keep going.
I think you're absolutely equipped to give advice. I mean, hearing your whole story.
That's so nice of
and
you.
people love learning from people who are relatable.
Yeah.
Like, you had this idea and you went for it. And I think that is super brave. And like I said, we're all super glad you did because we love chip cookies. Sarah, it has been so awesome talking to you today. We are going to end with our Fresh Five, where we ask
Great.
5
Thanks for having me.
random questions that help us get to know you a little better. Who was your very first celebrity crush? That is the first question.
Oh my gosh.
Your first.
It's probably going to age me, but probably Leo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio.
You didn't need to say his last name. All you need to
I actually have a son named Leo, which I didn't name him after that, but
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah.
yeah.
I love it.
I mean, Titanic, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Girl, you're totally fine. All right. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
I think Batman. You can't get over that voice. Like any time someone does the Batman voice, it just gets me. Like I love that voice.
I love it. That's my husband's favorite superhero is Batman. What is the very first thing you do in the morning?
I feed my baby first thing in the morning. I have a little 9-month-old, so he's waking me up really early and he eats. And give him some kisses.
Probably waking you up very, very
Yes.
early. Okay, so if you were to walk the red carpet, which event would you want to walk it at?
Oh, good question. Probably the Grammys. I love music. I think it'd be so fun to see all of the artists out there. And I think that I love the stuff that they wear at the Grammys. Like, I feel like people just go all out, you know? Like, it's not as buttoned up as some events. So I love the fashion at the Grammys.
Well, maybe you can have cookies at the Grammys.
Right?
For all we know.
One day,
Chip
like a
could
swag
cater
bag.
There we go. And lastly, what is your favorite book?
I think my favorite book is probably the Book of Mormon. Can I say that on here? Is that too cheesy to say?
You know what? If it is a religious book, you can own that.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
But I love books. I feel like the past few years I like never get a chance to read it. It's just like baby books. I'm reading like a baby training book right now.
Well, you know what? I feel like sometimes I read my cousin's kids' books.
Yes. I have every kid book memorized.
Well, they have good lessons that adults
they
can take
really
too.
do. They really. I love children's books. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there you go. You're totally fine. All right, Sarah, it has been such a joy to talk to you. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for
having
coming
me.
in. Everyone, thank you for listening. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.